G Mining Ventures is a gold development company that is fully funded, currently building what will be Brazil's third largest gold mine. Our team has built several projects in the Guyana Shield and throughout South America, such as the Fruta del Norte mine in Ecuador, the Marion Gold Mine for Newmont in Suriname. So even though G Mining Ventures is 2 years old, our team has a track record of building mines over the last 15 years on time and on budget. Since we created the company, we acquired the Tocantinzinho asset from Eldorado essentially 1 year ago. When we acquired it, we updated the feasibility study, which we published in February, which was the cornerstone for documentation and information for us to go through our financing process. We put a $481 million financing package together this July, and with the permitting process being essentially complete, we were able to make a construction decision in September of this year. The feasibility study that we updated in February allowed us to revise our capital cost number, building in the inflation that we've seen in the marketplace and something that we wanted to execute on. So we have a $458 million CapEx, which is generating 24% rate of return at a $1,600 gold price. The Tocantinzinho project is essentially a single open pit feeding a conventional process plant at a rate of 12,600 tons per day. So currently with the reserve we have 10 and a half years of production, which will give us about 175,000 ounces over the mine life. Brazil for us was a logical choice. We've been active in the Guyana Shield and in Ecuador. It has lots of similarities to this project in terms of high rainfall, something that we're used to dealing with. Brazil, where this project is located in the state of Pará, is essentially the second most important mining state in Brazil, with active mining companies such as Vale, Ero Copper. They have very attractive policies in the state to attract investment, providing a 75% reduction in income taxes for 10 years. This project is remote in the sense that there's no communities around it, no indigenous communities either that can be impacted by any mining activity. The financing package that we put together this summer provides us full funds to construct the project and has built in a buffer of $43 million plus contingency, which brings us to an $81 million buffer. Franco-Nevada will be providing a good bulk of the financing package through a stream and a debt facility, and they contributed to the equity private placement that we did, taking a 10% stake in the company. La Mancha came in to take a 25% equity ownership, followed by Eldorado, who we bought the project from. Essentially gave us back the $20 million that we gave them as part of the initial purchase. So definitely a sign of support for this project to move forward. CAT will be providing us as well with a $40 million facility for the equipment purchase. So currently we have 133 million US of cash as of the end of September, which we're investing into the project, and then we'll be drawing on these financing facilities that we have. So in terms of project, this shows a bit the sensitivity that we have with this reserve, which is a 1.31 gram per ton open pit with a relatively low strip ratio of 3.4 life of mine. For every $100 change in the gold price, we essentially generate about 100 million NPV increase. The detail engineering on the project is progressing very well. As of the end of September, we're at about 37% complete, which has allowed us to make a lot of the procurement that we need on the project. So, for example, the process plant has essentially been completely procured at this point. We have placed orders for a grinding circuit back in May, which are typically part of our critical path on constructing the project. As of the end of September, we have 148 million committed into our CapEx to purchase all the major equipment. We've also procured the mining fleet, a lot of the infrastructure that we'll be constructing over the coming 2 years. We've actually received the first pieces of our mining fleet on site already. We're in the final stages of commissioning that equipment that we'll be putting to work this month. We typically start our mining fleet quite early in the project to do pre-production mining. We also use a lot of the waste material to build our tailings facility, typically at a much lower cost than if you're using contractors. This allows us to train all the employees as well. So once the mill is running, we have a team that's performing really well at that point. So since we made the construction decision, we've been expanding our permanent camp facility. We've been working out of our exploration camp, which has 370 beds. The permanent camp that we're constructing now will provide us with up to 1,200 beds to ramp up construction over the coming months. We have about 427 people on site, part contractors, but several direct employees. And essentially, 52% of our employees are from our nearby communities, which provides for great local impacts in terms of employment and business opportunities in the region. So we'll be ramping up to about 1,900 people during the peak of construction, and once we get into operations, we'll be ramping down to about 650. We've already opened up our starter pit with contracting equipment to get ready to bring in our mining fleet. So during the pre-production period, we'll be stockpiling up to 2.4 million tons of ore, essentially 6 months of feed, before we even commission the processing facility. The project is in the state of Pará, as I mentioned. We're about 108 kilometers off the main highway, which is the paved highway, where we turn off in Moraes Almeida to go into our site. Essentially, the last 72 kilometers of the access road we maintain and upgrade, which we've done over the last few months, improving the road, building wood bridges to cross streams. So now we have excellent access into the property, bringing people and equipment in. Safety is a top priority. We're trying to implement a strong safety culture. So far, we've had no LTIs on the project, and we're looking to keep it that way. So our construction schedule is really to execute over the next 24 months to get into a commissioning stage towards the second quarter of 24, and to be in commercial production by the second half of 2024. As part of our critical path, the grinding circuit for us is typically the main one, and is the reason why we place orders so early in the process. We are constructing a transmission line to hook this project into the national grid, which will provide us with a clean source of renewable power at a fairly competitive price. So by being connected into the grid, we essentially have a very low carbon footprint. Given the good grade we have and low strip ratio, we see ourselves ranking in the bottom of the curve in terms of Scope 1 emissions when evaluated in terms of carbon per recovered ounce. For us, the social aspect is probably the most important one for us. This is an impoverished region of Brazil, so doing social projects that improve education and healthcare are really part of our main priorities and are what are really requested from our host community. When we acquired this project from Eldorado, there was very limited drilling on the whole land package, but we do inherit essentially a 2 million ounce reserve that you see here in plan view. So it's a very large intrusive granite intrusion that's about 200 to 150 meters wide. So a very thick ore body, very simple to mine, not subject to any mining dilution. So we've done some drilling on this in the pit area over the last several months, essentially to de-risk what we'll be mining during pre-production. So you can see some of the results we've published lately, and this is reported in true width. So 193 meters of 1.48 grams per ton. Included in there some higher grade intercepts of 12 meters at 4.6, 5 meters at 10 grams. So definitely we have a nice high grade core within the deposit that we'll be able to increase the grade for the initial years. The land package is quite large. It's 966 square kilometers and largely unexplored. Only 84,000 meters have been drilled on the whole land package. So currently we're starting to look for the next deposit. In our view, this is an environment where you typically find multiple deposits. That's been the case, for example, at Rosebell, Marion, which have similar environments. So currently we're looking in the same trend as the Tocantins deposit, about 2 kilometers southeast, where we have very good geochem anomalies, good geophysical indicators, and we'll be looking to drill that in the coming months and into next year. Zooming out to the land package, where you see the green dot in the middle is actually the pit. You see this main structural trend, northwest-southeast. That's about 40 to 50 kilometers long. So very regional type of land package. And we feel that this will be within trucking distance to the processing facility that we will be constructing, should we find additional deposits in the region. In terms of where we situate ourselves, we all like to refer to the Lassonde curve, being really at the bottom point where we create value. Essentially, we are fully funded, in construction, so well on our way to start moving up that curve towards positive cash flow, generating a re-rate by executing on development and construction. We talk about the valuations in the market. They are quite depressed. When you look at the developers, they're typically about 0.3 from the ones we show in this reduced peer group. If you look at the producers, they're at least double or close to double. So that's about the expectation that you can get by transitioning from a developer to a producer. On top of that, we do feel that we're well situated within our peer group, with a great project and a great team to execute this. We kind of filter through different criteria. If you look at meaningful production, such as what we will have, fully permitted, financed, there's only a few projects at this stage right now, and I would feel that we're well positioned amongst our peers. We do have a very tight shareholder group. About 65% is within a few hands, very little float out at the moment. And with an enterprise value of $80 million for a 2 million ounce reserve that is fully funded and de-risked, we feel this is a great entry point for new investors, especially given that the last financing was done at 80 cents and we're currently trading around 70 cents. So in the span of essentially 1 year from acquiring this project, we've updated feasibility, have financed, and are currently in construction. So definitely moving quickly through the life cycle of a project and looking to be generating positive cash flow in the second half of 24.